with the Steelers, who shut down the Chargers offense, holding them to just 168 yards. Pittsburgh coach Mike Tomlin.
We better respond that way. There's a nakedness in this business at this level. There's nowhere to hide. When you got a challenge like that walking in your venue, you better fight. We're the number one rusher and rushing team coming into our building. And so let's be real clear. They got to fight. They don't have a choice.
Steelers have held their first 3 opponents to 10 points or fewer. Seattle also 3-0. They beat the Dolphins 24-3. Vikings roll over the Texans. They are 3-0. First 3-0 start since 2016. Although that year they won their first 5, finished 8-8 and missed the playoffs. Ravens get their first win. They do it on the road in Dallas, 28-25. Dak Prescott is calling out the Cowboys.
Us as players, we've got to be more professional and understand our jobs, understand where we're supposed to be, and do that time and time again and keep our focus.
Rams rally to beat the Niners by a field goal. Panthers get 3 touchdowns from Andy Dalton in their first win. They beat the Raiders. Lions by a touchdown over the Cardinals. Eagles win in New Orleans. Giants win in Cleveland for their first victory of the season. Packers beat the Titans. Will Levis, 2 more interceptions. Baseball, Shohei Ohtani hits number 53. Dodgers beat Colorado. Aaron Judge with number 55 in the Yankees' final game in Oakland. Astros lose to the Angels, but Houston can clinch the AL West tonight against Seattle. WNBA, Asia Wilson, unanimous MVP. Then Las Vegas wins its playoff opener against Seattle. Sun by 24 over the Fever. They hold Caitlin Clark to 11 points. Liberty topped the Dream by 14. Minnesota outlasts Phoenix 102-95.
Turning to local sports now, it's rivalry week as the Squim Wolves and Port Angeles Rough Riders face off in tennis, soccer, volleyball, and a highly anticipated football game this Friday night. In football, the Wolves hit the road and defeated Elma 28-7 Friday, handing Elma their first loss after a 2-0 start. Meanwhile, the Rough Riders struggled past undefeated North Mason, falling 28-6 Friday night due to blocked punts, some costly turnovers, and an inability to stop the run. Squim is averaging 25 points a game while allowing 23. The Riders, on the other hand, are searching for some answers on offense, averaging just 11 points per game while they give up 30. The Wolves had a 7-game winning streak in the series until Port Angeles ended it last year with a win in Squim. Elsewhere, all eyes will be on Belfair as the 0-3 North Kitsap Vikings take on the undefeated North Mason Bulldogs. The October 31st Squim versus North Mason game could have significant playoff implications. Last year's state playoff teams, Port Angeles, Bremerton, and North Kitsap, are currently 0-9 combined. Friday night's football game will be broadcast live here on KONP. In tennis action today, Port Angeles hosts Squim at 4 p.m. The Riders will then travel to Olympic on Tuesday, Bremerton on Wednesday, and host Kingston on Thursday. In NWAC soccer, the nation's 4th-ranked Peninsula Pirates women dominated Whatcom 11-0. Former Rough Rider Anna Petty, along with Risa Nishida, Paige Johnson, Shiori Shantaku, and Kawai Bento each scored 2 goals. The 5th-ranked in the nation men's team also secured a 2-0 victory over Whatcom with goals from Neil Grau and Conrad Mueller. Peninsula will host a doubleheader against Bellevue. That'll be on Wednesday. Geno Smith threw for 289 yards, including a 71-yard touchdown to DK Metcalf, and Zach Charbonnet.
First and goal to 4. Handoff Charbonnet behind the left side. Powers through into the end zone. Touchdown, Seattle. Zach Charbonnet, a 4-yard touchdown run for the Seahawks.
He rushed for 2 scores as the Seattle Seahawks beat the Miami Dolphins 24-3 on Sunday.
Here's the next off from the way, swinging a ground ball down the third base line, fair down the left field line. Here comes Tavares, Ronnie third. He will score a walk-off win for the Rangers this afternoon. Walk-off single for Marcus Semien. The Rangers win it by a score of 6-5.
That walk-off single capping a Texas Rangers 6-5 comeback win over the Seattle Mariners Sunday. The Mariners now 2 games out of the AL wildcard spot with 6 remaining games. They open a crucial series at Houston today and will be on the air this afternoon at 4 o'clock here on KONP.
Nothing makes being outdoors better than having the right gear and the right crew. So here's an idea. Let Mountain Dew supply the gear and you bring the friends. Because when you buy specially marked multi-packs of Mountain Dew, you can collect points and earn epic limited edition outdoor gear. We're talking everything from custom Mountain Dew camp chairs and backpack coolers to exclusive Mountain Dew tents, fishing boats, and more. So buy Dew. Collect points, get gear, and get outside with Mountain Dew Outdoor Gear.
Open to legal U.S. residents 18 plus. Subject to program terms at dewoutdoors.com and 12/31/24. Void or prohibited.
Bring your kids to the Next Door Gastropub.
We already know that adults have been loving Next Door Gastropub for over 13 years, but the kids love it too.
My favorite thing is a cheeseburger and fries. My favorite thing is grilled cheese and fries. But everything is good.
You'll feel the good vibes the moment you walk in, and your mouth will do a happy dance from the very first bite you take, because
we got the best beef in town.
Bring your kids down to the Next Door Gastropub in downtown Port Angeles.
We're open every day at 11, and we close at 10.
Newsradio KONP Business.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. It'll be a harsh holiday season for 2/3 of the workers at a General Motors assembly plant in Kansas. The company is going to lay them off while it retools the factory to start production of the next Chevy Bolt model. GM says production will resume the middle of next year. Automotive News says layoffs for almost 1,700 workers will start in November. In its quest to take over the largest mattress retailer, Mattress Firm, the largest mattress maker, Tempur-Sealy, is making moves in hopes of overcoming a regulatory challenge. It will sell 73 Mattress Firm locations and the entire Sleep Outfitters chain of more than 100 stores to smaller chain Mattress Warehouse. But that still would leave Tempur-Sealy with 2,800 stores after its $2.7 billion deal for Mattress Firm closes. The FTC is fighting it. Hearings begin in 2 months. Wall Street's indexes moving higher so far today. Dow up almost 0.25%. NASDAQ and S&P 500 each rising 0.33%. Andrew O'Day, Bloomberg Radio.
Get our last check on the roads this Monday morning next. Brought to you by Angela's Furniture and by Leeds Farm Supply.
Angela's Furniture is celebrating a new season with huge savings. Stop by and browse our sale on our Stressless collection. You'll save 10% on all Stressless furniture with no qualifying purchase necessary. Check out the Stressless Fiona with wood arms or the Stressless Mayfair Signature in all Paloma leather colors. Stressless by Eckernes is the most innovative and comfortable furniture available. Check out the sale savings now, only at Angela's Furniture.
No matter what you are trying to keep in or what you're trying to keep out, Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment Sales has fencing to get the job done right. Leeds carries everything from barbed wire and no-climb fencing to field fences and gates with all the equipment you'll need to install. You'll even find fence chargers, electric rope, T-posts, and anything else you might need to get the job done. Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment Sales is your local farm store and so much more. Located at 259110 Highway 101 in Sequim.
Newsradio KONP, traffic and roads.
Right up to Clallam Transit Dispatch Center we go. That is where Steve's standing by with an eye on the roads for us on a Monday morning. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I did pretty good this morning. Pretty easy going all the way around. Right now, we just have light traffic, a little bit steady. In places making its way through town. No real problems out there. Traffic is moving pretty smoothly. Same thing in Sequim. Really not much of an issue as far as getting around this morning. If you're on the highway between Port Angeles and Sequim, things looking pretty good as well. Traffic moving along at the speed limit. Just light to moderate traffic out there right now. Beyond that, Hood Canal Bridge, good to go. No scheduled marine openings, and looks like state ferries are also running on time today. If you're headed out to the west end right now, 101's in good shape all the way out to the Forks area. No real issues out there, just light to moderate traffic. It seems to be moving along pretty smoothly. Just some wet roads out there. Other than that, should be a good trip for you. So everybody take care. Be safe out there today. This is Steve reporting live from Clallam Transit for KONP.
It's one thing to have a controlled substance. It's another matter to intend to sell or give it to others. The court had to decide the intent in the case of the controversial cocaine. I'm Curtis Howard. Today's Point of Law.
Point of Law, presented by McCrory Carpet One.
Shirley Davis had reason to be depressed. Her husband had left her for an older, less attractive woman, plus the fact he'd tied up her property and her bank accounts in the divorce action. But she had enough money left for some temporary relief in the form of cocaine. She bought it at the apartment of a bartender she knew. Jim Turner had plenty of the stuff and gave her a good price because he liked her. Late one evening, she visited him and bought 5 grams in a plastic envelope. She put the envelope in her purse and went out to her car. Just as she was unlocking the door, she heard a man's voice, "You're under arrest, Miss Davis." And then she heard her rights being read. Then another man's voice. We'll take your purse, ma'am. We're also taking your car to the police garage to be searched. Oh, by the way, we're also arresting your wholesaler, Jim Turner. Wholesaler? Shirley stammered. But come along, Miss Davis, said the arresting officer. You're going to the station. Shirley put up bail and was released. But she was very worried. She was charged both with the possession of cocaine and with the intent to distribute it. She knew that distribution carried far heavier penalties than simple possession. In court, the federal prosecutor said, Your Honor, we had Turner under surveillance for several weeks. We took infrared photos of people who came and left his apartment. Among them was Shirley Davis. She had 5 grams of cocaine in her possession at the time of her arrest. Now, that is a fairly large amount. Also, she admits to buying it at less than the street price from a man who was a known wholesaler. This is sufficient circumstantial evidence to convict her of intent to sell. Shirley's attorney argued, the government found no other illegal drug in Shirley's automobile or any equipment used for distribution, no large amounts of cash or weapons, none of the items usually found on a narcotics distributor. We concede she had some cocaine in her purse, but it was for her use only. What did the court decide about Shirley's intentions? We'll find out in a moment.
With McCrory Carpet One's reputation for fine quality flooring and expert installation, you might assume that a McCrory floor costs more. First of all, we all know what assuming does. And secondly, you'd be wrong. They belong to the nation's largest flooring co-op, with hundreds of family-owned stores banding together to buy even better than the big box stores. That keeps them more than competitive when it comes to price. Shop a name you can trust. McCrory Carpet One. Always priced right. Always done right.
Was Shirley guilty of intending to sell cocaine because she had a large amount in her purse? No, said a federal court. There was insufficient evidence. Merely having it with nothing else is not enough to show she intended to sell any of it. She is not guilty of intent to distribute. It's a point of law.
Washington State News Network, I'm Lance Tormey. A passenger on a Delta Airlines flight suing the airline after being scalded with hot coffee. The woman, a flight attendant for the different airline, and was returning to Seattle from Paris when the incident happened. She says the flight attendant set the coffee on a slanted food tray, spilled it on her lap, causing first and second-degree burns to her hips, side, and abdomen. After landing, she went to an emergency room, says the doctor was surprised at the severity of the burns. The governor wouldn't have as much influence in citing large green energy projects under a bill being introduced in the state Senate. 8th District Senator Matt Benke from Kennewick says the Energy Facility Site Evaluation Council, not the governor, should make the final decision on projects.
Our bill is going to go ahead and make sure that the voice of the people are heard loud and clear, and it does go through this continuous process. But at the end, the governor doesn't have this final say to change everything that's going on.
Governor Inslee is reviewing the revised council recommendations with the fewer protections he requested at the Horse Heavens Hills proposed site. Authorities all around the state say beware of jury duty scams. Scammers are posing as police or court officials, claiming you missed jury duty and face arrest unless you pay a fine. Courts will never call, email, or demand immediate payments over the phone. Scammers may also ask for sensitive personal information like your social security number. Never give out any of that personal information. For more on these and other stories, download the WSNN mobile app or visit WashingtonStateNews.net.
Your kids about the dangers of vaping can be hard. Getting them to listen to hot gossip is easy. So here's some drama you could share with your kid. Dude, did you hear about Cassie and Jake? No, but did you hear that vaping can cause irreversible lung damage and nicotine affects brain development? Nuh-uh. You don't need to gossip if you want to have an open conversation about vaping. So if you want to get tips on when and how to talk to your kids, visit talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Whoever said you can't buy happiness clearly has never dined at Rain Shadow Cafe in Sequim. Besides being voted the best cup of coffee and best espresso in Clallam County, they also sell happiness by the mouthful.
The food is so cool. I honestly didn't realize how much of a menu we had, but there's so many items and kind of a little bit of everything for somebody so they can pick and choose what they want, and so you can really make everybody happy.
Buy your happiness by the mouthful and the cupful at Rain Shadow Cafe.
Hi, I'm Morgan Grawl-Worthington. I'm a local educator and the head coach for the Port Angeles High School fast pitch softball team. I've known Randy Johnson since the age of 10 when he coached my Little League team. Randy has always been a big supporter of the youth in our community through his leadership in 4-H, the YMCA, and juvenile services. Just as he has supported our kids, I am proud to support Randy for re-election as Clallam County Commissioner, District 2.
Paid for by the committee to elect Randy Johnson for County Commissioner.
Wakey, rise inside!
Good morning, everyone.
Is it fall already? Seasons change, young man.
The changing of the seasons.
Autumn leaves?
Falling leaves.
Fall.
First day of autumn. Leaves changing beautiful colors.
Watch the leaves change.
Yeah, that happened yesterday.
Ready to get started?
Let's do this.
Okay, then let's start the show.
All right, welcome to the first full day of fall, or autumn. I had a funny little meme showed up, little video on my social media over the weekend, and it had in the UK, and this lovely lady walking through the falling leaves saying, we call it autumn because it stands for the autumnal and all of the stuff, you know, which means changing of the year.
Is that what it means?
And then it clipped over to, in America, we call it fall because the leaves are falling.
What do you guys call it?
Well,
fall.
Most people here in the U.S. call it fall, and I thought it was funny because that's how the world looks at us, Yankees.
Well, I've heard people.
We're simple-minded,
We're
very practical.
Yeah,
Leaves are falling; it must be fall.
Yeah, I hear people call it autumn sometimes, and I go,
Actually, you know,
awkward.
Sitting and watching the leaves turn brown is about as much energy as I have for today. So we'll just do that.
Fall is. I don't not like fall. I like fall, but I don't like it because it's means winter's
what it's
imminent.
leading up to,
and the long dark days are here.
They're coming. They're halfway here.
What's our time change?
Not till November.
I'm gone when the time change
doesn't
happen.
even matter.
But the shortest day is 3 months from now.
Yeah.
So
December
we're exactly in
21st
between the shortest and the longest day.
Isn't it December 21st?
Yesterday was 22nd this year,
22nd.
because it was a full
leap year,
because it was a leap year. Yesterday actually was the day where day and night were exact same time. Amount of day, So,
well, I have cheerful news related to the long dark days. The waterfront district in downtown Port Angeles is planning to lighten up the trees like they haven't been for ever, you know, and they're consulting and getting a lot of help from the folks that do the Blinn, vegetation. So look for a lot more.
When's that going in?
Light and stuff. November.
So the downtown trees along the street haven't been lit up? Why do I feel?
No, they have been.
But
but
more?
more than you've ever seen before, kind of thing. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I hate when those go down at the end of the season. You know,
they're going to go through March, I think, or through a lot of.
Really?
Yeah, I think, or at least until the daylight savings time or whatever.
I feel like they only go through January in the past. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't like
that. So anyway, that's a little cheerful news in the middle of all this darkness.
To get my light therapy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Just stand under a tree.
I tell you what, I have a happy light on my desk. I have to start firing that up because when you come to work, when I do, I literally have SADS. And I can feel it coming.
Sure.
If I don't get enough light,
right? It's dark and it stays dark for several hours.
I come in and it's dark, and then I go home and I have very little light left again, and then I have to go to bed at Anyway, I'm sorry. I don't mean to whine. It's Monday.
It is a Monday.
Got a lot of apples going on my trees. I've been making apple cider left and right, and I came across this. Somebody put online why 11 reasons apple picking is the worst fall activity. And after yesterday, I can tell you, it is. Pretty much. Although I have little tools and some special things, and I only have 3 really great apple trees.
Yeah, but 3 trees can do a lot.
Oh, yeah.
They produce really good apples.
A lot of damage.
Yeah, right.
So I've got 2 that are Gravensteins, which are great they're really good cider apples, and then I've got one that's a transparent, and they're okay for cider, but they They literally, if you don't get them off the tree right away, they rot right on the tree. They
Big
become
sugar, a lot of sugar content.
They become really spongy, and they're really no good
Yeah.
for anything except pressing them, and they don't really give you a lot of juice. So I didn't plant these trees. I
They were just
wouldn't
there.
have done that. You can't really bake with them.
They're not even pies.
Yeah, applesauce is about the only thing that they're really truly good for.
Yeah.
And again, you got to
Mushy.
get them off enough.
Yeah.
You don't want them too mushy when you pull them off the tree, even if you're making
Maybe
applesauce.
if you make them out,
Really?
they get
Because they
sort
get
of
mealy.
mealy, yeah.
So they're not apple pie apples.
definitely not.
No.
No,
I mean,
they're not.
unless you were to get them the day that
Right
they
at
are
the
like right,
perfect.
you might be able to pull it off. But they don't have. You really have to doctor them up to make them taste good in your pie. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
I've been picking apples
Yeah.
all over, off the ground,
he's
off
all
the tree,
appled
off
out.
to everything.
Todd Appleseed.
Yep. Todd, and this is an off year, by the way, for my apple. But they go on your off year. So you got a big harvest
that's
usually,
right.
and the next year you usually have less. My last year is fabulous
Sure.
for amount of yield.
Or the abundant year is too much.
Yeah, I can't wait till next year. I
you have
just
to
have
deal
no
with-
idea what I'm going to do.
Do you get worms? You get issues with.
I do if I
pests?
don't get them off of their.
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly when they become windfall. That's
Sure.
when you have to
Yeah.
deal with it. But on the trees, not so much. I don't do too badly.
The birds aren't eating them on you? Yeah,
No.
okay.
And one of my, I've got two of them fenced in, so the deer can't get to those.
that was
two.
the next-
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
And then I kind of let the deer have the other one because it keeps it. Because I have
That's a
so
good
many.
idea.
I don't know. I'll
That's-
pick a few off of there. but
Maybe that's why they planted that tree. Is that as a foil for the deer?
No, I put this fence up.
Oh, okay.
Long ago. They had that. All three were exposed to the deer before the fence went up. Anyway, here you go. The reasons why apple picking is the worst fall activity ever.
Oh.
These may or may not. Your mileage may vary. Number one, you're doing work. There's a reason people get paid to do it. Now you got to realize this was put forth on the internet, like as in you take the family out to like an orchard
apple
where they
pie-
do
yeah.
where they
Pick
do the
your
apple
own.
picking your own
Yeah.
thing. Right. I don't even think we have anything quite. There's a couple places maybe, but not huge,
close. Yeah.
Some of these places back east, there's.
Oh, yeah.
Or you even
It's
go.
a thing.
Yakmeyer, you can go and
Yeah.
do a thing. Okay. There's rotting fruit all over the ground. That is true. Number three, the bugs.
Ugh.
Yeah, there's.
That's mostly back east too.
Yeah, that's mostly back east.
Yeah.
That's not. Yeah. This one is interesting. If you go to these big orchards, you get lost. Orchards are like massive apple mazes.
Yeah.
And I've seen that before. When I worked in Yakima, I used to go to the orchards.
Oh,
and
yeah.
used to
Sure.
go to these stories about the apple blossoms and the apple harvest and all that stuff. And you go out there and it was.
Lost.
We used
You're
to
lost.
just joke with the cameraman. Well, we're just going to stay right here on the edge.
Yeah.
And,
Feels like a
not
corn
going way
maze.
in there
Don't
because
go
we
in.
might not get out.
Yeah.
The more apples you pick, the harder it gets.
Yeah.
Because the bag gets
It's
heavy.
heavy.
Yeah. Mud. If it's rained any in the last 24 hours, don't bother.
That sounds horrible.
This one, the crowds, and this is back east mostly because
Yeah.
this is just a huge thing about fall, especially when the photos aren't that great. Number 8 on the list, but you'll have to deal with lots of other people who are just doing it for the Instagram shot.
Oh,
but
geez.
also, so it's tough. You have to fight it. That goes with the crowds one as well. Number 9, you'll end up with more apples than you'll know what to do with. It's true.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Do you always end up with more apples than you know?
Well, I have a ton of apples. Always.
Do you give them away?
I just
let 'em
press
rot.
because my apples aren't big enough to be like eaters.
Oh, sure.
They're smaller apples. They're really cider
Best for
apples.
pressing.
So
Yeah.
I grind them and press them, grind them and press them, grind them and press them. That's all I do until I run out of things to put my cider in. I don't have enough vessels
Right.
to keep them. So every grocery store has apples. So why are we making this a whole thing? I don't like that one. And the number 11 is the store out front's the best part. If you do head to an orchard this fall, they say just to hit the store for the cider and the donuts and skip the whole apple picking part.
Yeah, that's good.
Maybe so.
As a kid, I loved picking apples. As an adult, not so much. I used to let people come over and pick my apple trees and my cherry trees. All my neighbors wanted to do
The
that.
gleaners.
Gleaners,
Yes.
and you know the
I'm
cooperative
great with
section
that.
puts together
Yeah.
a great gleaners program. So
Yeah,
if
they
you
do.
do have lots of leftover apples that are still on there, they'll come and they'll glean your tree, and those will go off to people to food banks and stuff.
Absolutely.
That's why it saved me from having to pick them up before I mowed my lawn. That was a real pain. And when you get an apple and you don't notice it and your lawnmower goes,
I got the coolest little tool that I bought this year for picking them up off of the ground. It's a little. It's actually used for golf balls, or it's used for walnuts. But it works great on small apples. So if I have things that are laying around on the ground, I can scoop them all up and get them out really quickly before I mow the lawn.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
It's like a little.
It's
claw,
like a. It's
claw,
on a.
apple claw.
It's like a. It's got flexible. Like it's like a barrel with little straps on it, and they're flexible. So when it comes across something, they bend enough for it to pop in, and then they pop close. Then it pops close behind it, and holds it in.
Can't go
and
out.
so when you get done with it, it's like a big bingo. You know those bingo rollers, right?
Sure.
You know, that
Convenient.
You pull out. Yeah, and then you pop the end off, and you dump it out. You know, then you do some more.
Nice.
It doesn't hold a lot. I mean, you got to do a lot
Still,
of trips to
better
get it,
than
depending on if you. But if you stay
bending
up on
over, way better than
it.
bending
And a lot
over.
of the stuff that falls off the tree are kind of unusable, and they're tiny things. And they're just kinda,
You don't want them
Rotting.
anyway.
Yeah, right.
Gross.
All right.
It's also apple cider vinegar day, which is
Well, that makes
appropriate,
sense.
right?
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Are you guys those type of people that hear the health benefits and you take the shot of apple cider vinegar? Did you ever do that?
I used to do that, and then I got away from doing it.
Oh.
I should probably do it more. It's supposed to be. It's really good for you.
Oh, I know it's really good for me. No, I can't even talk about it.
Really? You put a little honey in there.
Yeah. I mean, you can doctor it up a little bit.
I do every
That's so
single day.
bad.
I have lemon. I don't use vinegar. I use lemon, fresh lemon, and honey, local honey. And every single morning. Yes.
My eyes are watering thinking about it.
Oh, it's so
no,
good.
it's a gag
good.
reflex just thinking about it for me. It's so
Really?
bad. And
Huh.
it's not good on my stomach. But if you're one of those people, today's a day to try it.
When I was a kid,
You can take them in a pill form.
yeah.
Nope. No, I
No,
can't.
I used to drink vinegar and honey when I was in high school.
I can't even stand the
It's
smell
really good
of
for your
it.
digestive
Every morning.
system, isn't it? Yeah, I mean,
Funny that it upsets my stomach. It's very good for your digestive system, and it does not agree with me. I think I got really sick on it as a kid, as a teenager. Somebody was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, you
so
gotta
you probably
do
have
this."
an adverse reaction,
I
as they
do.
call it, which is
I have a lot of
what we do
those.
when
Maybe
we
you're allergic.
overeat on something, and yeah.
I have a lot of those. And then appropriately is Go With Your Gut Day,
Oh, yeah.
which is all about gut health. And, apple cider vinegar is good for you. Go With Your Gut basically just says pay attention to gut health. Don't ignore symptoms and signs of a problem. Actually, I have an appointment this week to make sure that my insides are doing well.
I thought it was, if you think he's a creeper, he probably is.
That's going with your gut.
That's going with your
That's
gut.
the whole sense.
I had
Go
to
with your
look it
gut.
up. I might have said that, and then I would be
okay.
corrected by somebody.
So what they did is they made this into one of those kind of
What is it called?
make you think sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah,
of
and
course.
if you're like me and you have to talk about them on the radio and you don't look them up, somebody will call in and correct me. So I had to make that happen. It's National Baker Day, which is just what it sounds like. This is the professional baker or the at-home baker, and even I would say celebrate the bakers who are not very good bakers because they do try. That's me.
Keep baking. Keep trying.
Eventually, you maybe will get it right. I will not. My
Is it-
mom is ashamed of me.
Is there a butcher and a candlestick maker day?
Good
Probably.
question.
There is a butcher day.
But is there a
there's-
candlestick maker?
Probably
That's
not.
the most important part of the trio.
That's
the
true.
butcher, the baker, and
The candlestick maker.
That's right.
Oh,
Because
leave
You
it to
can't
Todd.
see.
There is.
You can't see to bake or do your butchering without the candles.
Leave it to
That's
Todd.
why he is the most important one of that.
The
threesome.
candlestick maker.
The candlestick maker makes the candles that you light, so you can then do your work.
So you
when
can
the dark.
see
Yeah.
to bake and butch.
So you can go at night.
Okay.
Butcher. And another food, it is Snack Stick Day. And not just any snack. This is like the meat sticks, like beef jerky. This is
Yeah.
celebrating those. And I love beef jerky. Some of it is a little too salty, but the more peppery and the spicy, the better. I like them, like a good beef stick. Not so much anymore as an adult, but as a kid, I ate them in my lunch all the time.
My teeth can't take it. I like it, but man, when you try
Get
eating on it, it's
stuck.
they're
no,
too-
it's just like a ripping on it.
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
It hurts.
They're too greasy for me.
Some of them are.
The beef sticks are. The jerky is good.
True jerky, but not the beef stick.
Beef
Yeah.
sticks, it's just, I feel like I'm just chewing on
There's certain
fat and
brands
grease.
that I have to have, but like, what are those Slim Jims? They're
Yeah.
really greasy. They're kind of gross. And then the last food on my list is National Great American Pot Pie Day. Do you guys know what year the first frozen pot pie was created?
1920 something, I would think.
No, later.
Frozen, I would go with
Yeah.
56.
Yeah, well,
51.
maybe
51.
Yeah.
Okay.
1951. And
Post World War II.
And do you know what company Did it?
Swanson's?
Yeah,
Right.
Swanson's. So that was the first one made.
What's good now is Marie Callender makes a good one.
So Marie Callender created National Pot Pie Day.
Of course they did.
In 2000,
sell their pot pies.
Yeah.
2003 is when they did that.
The best pot pie is not a frozen one. I can
No.
tell you that right now.
Homemade.
My wife makes one that's
I'll bet.
off the charts.
Big flaky ones. Oh, those are so good.
Speaking of that, you can also get a pot pie at the Oak Street Bistro, new restaurant downtown.
I just
It's on the menu.
saw that.
Yeah.
I just saw that.
So there's something else on the menu I was going to bring up to you guys because we talked about it, I don't know, about a month ago. Monte Cristo sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
You can get a Monte Cristo sandwich at Oak Street
And
Bistro.
did you try it?
You can get
I didn't try it
at
yet.
the rail too, by the way. I've had one there.
Can you get one at the rail? I didn't know
Yeah,
that. Okay.
Not very many places serve those.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, they're rare.
Sure.
Yes, they
Yeah.
are. And they're so good. I don't know why they're so
they're
rare.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read about this one because this is the one that I knew I'd get in trouble for because it's not what it sounds like. Do you guys know what National Checkers Day is about?
I know what it's about because it has to do with Richard Nixon giving his checkers speech
Okay.
about his Cocker Spaniel.
I did
dog.
not know about this.
1952.
1952. He had to defend himself after being accused of improprieties involving a fund set up by his supporters to compensate him for campaign costs. During his half-hour televised address, he emphasized that no matter what anyone thought, he planned to keep one gift. The gift was a black and white dog christened Checkers by the Nixon children, thus giving the speech its famous name. And at the time, it was heard by about 60 million American viewers, the greatest television viewership at the time. And it sparked an outpouring of really popular support and, the affection that America has for dogs, and that it kind of changed things.
Dogs and children never, that's the first
You
rule
can't
of
be
show
mad at
business.
them.
Never follow a dog or a kid act.
No,
Because
that's right.
You're
going to
done.
lose. So people could not be mad at him talking about the dog.
Checkers will never I'll be keeping them. All right, we need to take a break. Back with more after this.
Have you found yourself speeding to the next rest stop? If your bladder can't wait, it may be time to see a urologist. Urology is back at Olympic Medical Center. Whether you're dealing with prostate problems or incontinence, a referral to OMC's urologist could be just what you're looking for. Our new urology team is accepting appointments starting this fall. Learn more today at olympicmedical.org/urology.
This is Alicia. I'm the admin at Ridgeline Home Care Cooperative, the worker-owned and operated home care agency in Clallam County. Our service structure empowers our caregivers, and empowered caregivers make the very best caregivers. Let us answer questions on your in-home care for your loved one. Give us a call today, 360-504-3837. Are you a natural caregiver? Consider joining our fantastic team at Ridgeline and become one of the empowered caregivers at ridgeline.coop. That's ridgeline.coop.
All right, Morning Scramble is brought to you by Swain's General Store. Just a reminder, the Get Ready for Fall sale is here. Well, fall's already here, but you can still continue to get ready for it, right?
Couple days.
Got a couple more days through the 24th to get in there and save big. I just want to remind you, if you want to get ready for your spring color in your garden, now's the time to get your spring color flower bulbs in the ground. And you can save 20% off all of the spring color flower bulbs right now at Swain's. And perhaps we were just talking about harvesting your apples. Maybe you need a fruit picker. They got a couple of different styles of them there where you're going to save $15 off the fruit picker. That's got that little
that's a
basket
lot.
on it. You put it up there, jiggle your branch, and the apple or the pear falls right off of that. And maybe you want to get ready for getting all your harvest put away for winter in the freezer. How about vacuum sealing them? Got a couple of sales on vacuum sealers. They've got the Sure Seal vacuum sealer, which includes a great big old roll as well. This is going to be $50 off. Get it for $189, and then you can get the Max Vac 100 food vacuum sealer. This is a little bit of a smaller version, and it's $20 off for $79.87 right now. So there's a couple of things you're going to save on, plus all sorts of hunting and some food, just about all the clothes, 20% off or so or more throughout the store at Swain's.
The clothes, I have to mention this because I got a personal thank you from Mike Mudd at Swain's for being a walking billboard of the ladies section of clothing. I got great deals up there a couple weeks ago. I remember I mentioned that I was head to toe in Swain's, and he said, thank you, because it's a little known gem upstairs there. They have so much for all ages, right down to toddler. So don't forget to get up to the women's section. There's sales up there too.
All right. We were just talking about I had rough gigs this weekend with my band.
Yeah, sounded
just
like
me.
it.
I'm awful. The rest of the band was awesome. I mean, that's the worst part. When you're just like
You're
the lug.
You're the lead weight.
Yeah,
You felt that way. Nobody told you that.
Oh, no.
Oh.
You're in a band when people say nothing to you. It's kind
That's
of
how
like
you know.
It's kind of like sports, all right? They go, yeah, he sucked. I ain't going to even say it. He knows it. So, but hats off to the rest of them for carrying the weight, I guess. It made me feel better or worse, I guess, because I'm a big Journey fan, even though they're kind of the Journey cover band now. There's basically 2 original members left. Not even original members. 2 of the longest ones. The only original member left is Neil Schon.
Okay. Yeah.
And Jonathan Cain's still there, but he came later. Anyway, subpar performance this weekend from Journey's lead singer, Arnel Pineda, who has stepped in the last decade or so as the new Steve Perry, or so to be. He responded to some fan criticism by offering to quit if enough of them texted that he should go.
What?
He was so down after the gig. Yeah, here they are. Now, you got to take a listen to this. This is from Saturday night in Rio. Their encore, and Arnel probably shouldn't have been going for the little extra effort here. This is a bit cringeworthy. Here we go. And he did the little trick where you just have the crowd sing.
Let the crowd
Let the crowd sing it.
Needed to.
So he got it back there at the end a little bit, but those are just, skyrocketing vocals. And you got to realize Arnel is not, he's 10 years older than he was when he first started. And those are very difficult songs to do. He said, no one more than me in this world feels so devastated about this. This is his social media post. It's amazing how 1,000 right things you have done will be forgotten just because of this. And of all places, it's Rock in Rio, which was a huge thing that was going on. Arnel has been struggling with other shows recently as well. In fact, he hasn't even been singing some songs. They've been they've got a drummer that sings pretty well. Dean Castronova has been doing a lot more songs. Now, you do have to realize the songs have damaged the vocal cords of former frontman Steve Perry. He had to take a long break at one point. And Steve O'Jerry, who was the previous replacement of Steve Perry, he had to quit too, and he only did it for a couple of years.
Sure. And there's Steven Tyler from Aerosmith.
Well, he's done. Another thing.
He's done.
When was Steve Perry?
He screamed so long.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Well, and these aren't even screamer songs; they're just so high.
Yeah.
They're just stratospheric tenor parts. That
When was he done? When was Steve Perry done?
Steve Perry got out in the 90s, basically.
Yeah, right.
I remember
he came back in they tried to come back as on a tour. He actually had to have hip surgery.
Yep.
And he had a hard time rehabbing it, and he stepped out, never came back.
I remember my 30th birthday, I spent watching Journey. And, I didn't keep up on it. I had no idea it wasn't Steve Perry, and I was devastated. I'm like, what is this? It was like 2005 or something.
All you got to do is go back to the 1980 live concert video movie, whatever you want to call it. They shot the whole concert in Houston when they were playing. It was the most phenomenal thing ever because you look at it, it's just like pure talent. There's no autocorrect, no anything,
Auto-tune.
no auto-tune, nothing going on there. Yeah. And he just sings it. And it's just like, there's never going to be another Steve Perry.
Perfection.
Yeah. So Arnel, and
great.
and the other thing about Arnel is they found him in a basically a cover band in the Philippines.
Yeah.
That's how they discovered him. And he'd already been singing Steve Perry songs for about 5 or 6 years before he joined Journey.
Practice.
Interesting.
A lot of people are thinking with that and Journey's having a lot of fighting going on between Neil Schon and the rest of them, and that maybe it's time for them to just
hang it up.
All right.
And it could be.
Bunch of old guys.
Yeah. Well, REO Speedwagon's hanging it up.
Aww.
All of my great favorite songs of my youth, my bands of my youth are gone.
They are.
You can't go on forever, Todd.
Time for me to die.
No.
Stop it.
It's no reason to go on.
You got a long ways to go, buddy.
When your music goes away.
I hate all new music, though. That's the problem.
Some of
I
it
have
is
nothing
pretty
to
terrible.
replace these bands with because it's so terrible.
And the ones that try to replace those great 80s bands, they're not
Yeah,
so
can't quite
great.
get there.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right. Anyway, I'm gonna vote. I'm going on to his social. I'm gonna vote stay. He has you have to put in his comment go or stay.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
I don't know.
If he goes, they might be done. You got to say stay.
So here's the thing. It won't matter either way. This is a gimmick. It's a bit of a gimmick. He's out realizing. I mean, it's a little bit of comeuppance. He's realizing, man, I butchered that.
Yeah.
And
don't have the control he used to have.
Yeah.
If people say stay, enough people say stay, he's just going to try a little harder.
And you got to realize that was at the end of the night. So they're encore. They come back, and the problem, two things. He'd been singing all night.
Yeah.
And so he's tired.
Sure.
And then thirdly, that song goes as their encore, which is like the greatest, most epic Journey song ever that everybody knows every part.
That's the problem with
and
encores.
You can't fake it. You can't fake the parts.
You can't.
In it. People go, oh, he sang that low. He didn't, you start getting
It was the
credits.
encore. It has to be the best.
As a musician, the arm crosser, the guy that always shows up at every gig, stands in the corner with his arms crossed looking at you. I had that this
Entertain
weekend.
me.
A lot of people said, "You guys
Entertain me."
having a bad night." I said, "Amen." Gave him a thumbs up. You bet I am. I am having the worst night. All right. Do you have issues with your left and right?
Yeah.
Is it weird to still struggle with a concept you learned in kindergarten? A lady on TikTok going viral after admitting she still has trouble knowing her left from her right.
Really?
I saw this and I thought, there are times where I find myself putting my hands out.
I do.
Going,
Which one do I write
oh,
with?
yeah. There we go.
Really?
It's left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do it.
Huh.
It's horrible.
She saw a video.
Blinkers.
Yeah.
Where she said, where someone said left and right are just as intuitive to them as up and down.
Yeah.
But she had to think about it first and thought, well, everyone did that. So is it a common issue for adults? Well, a few people in the comments made fun of her, thought she was joking. One person said they genuinely don't understand how grown adults can get confused by left and right. But there were hundreds of others who got on there and said, well, like we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not always automatic.
Really?
And I find it situational a bit.
Yeah.
If I'm driving, I know my left and right a little bit easier, and I think it just has to. But there are times, depending on when the reference is made, that I have to stop and think about it.
Yeah.
One person said they still have to do the trick where they put their thumb and pointer fingers out. The one that makes an L is your left hand.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, I think right. I write with my right hand, but I have a horrible. Wasn't even as a teenager young person in my early 30s. I just moved back here and I was heading up the Tumwater Hill. I got up and I was going to turn on D Street, and I was going to turn left. And I put on my right blinker.
And then you turned left.
I turned left, but somebody went to go around me because I had my and actually clipped the tail end of my car. It was devastating. I went, oh my! And then when they told me, I went, you're right, I did. Just admitted it.
And now it's time for
fake them out. You showed them.
Juked left, went right. It's like football. Speaking of football, the first college football All-American team was picked in 1889. And the quarterback was a player from Princeton named Edgar Allan Poe.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
He was the second cousins with the author Edgar Allan Poe.
Wow, that's
wasn't the
great.
Raven guy. But he was named after him. There you go. Let's see. The average person will take about 216.3 million steps in their lifetime, which is the equivalent of walking all the way around the earth 5 times.
Wow.
Yeah. Martha Stewart once dated Anthony Hopkins. But she broke up with him because she couldn't stop associating him with Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs. How about that, huh?
It's Martha, not Clarice.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
All right, let's do it again tomorrow, guys.
Oy.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Steph. News coming up next.
Caviar Jewelry is freshly restocked with darling sterling silver fashions. If you haven't stopped by in a while, now is a great time to check out the whole new collection. We have also, for the first time in Caviar history, marked our clearance jewelry to 50% off indefinitely. Every week we pull 1-year-old inventory and add it to the half-off case. You won't find deals like this anywhere else. Annie and Sharon can't wait to see you again. Caviar Jewelry, 2416 East Highway 101.
Checkup on Health, presented by Olympic Medical Center.
Checkup on Health with Chris Whitting.
Can faith improve your health? A recent study examined how spirituality affected people with chronic health problems. Here's Dr. Brick Johnstone, chairman of the Department of Health Psychology at the University of Missouri-Columbia School of Health Professions.
We looked at 200 people with conditions such as brain injury, stroke, spinal cord injury, and cancer. And the only religious or spiritual variable that predicted physical health was spiritual experience. And in a nutshell, if you had positive beliefs in a loving, forgiving God, you were likely to have better physical health. Conversely, if you believe that your illness or injury was the result of punishment from God or sign that you had done something wrong in your life, you were more likely to have worse health.
Dr. Johnstone's study found that support from a congregation also was a major factor in improving mental health. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
Did you know that Olympic Medical Center offers support groups? We have a support group for families with a new baby, as well as cancer and diabetes support groups, all free. Drop in to any of our free support groups. Learn more about meeting times and locations at olympicmedical.org/events.
From ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. More than 200 people are dead and hundreds are injured after Israel Defense Forces struck Hezbollah targets across Lebanon. The IDF says residents in the area were warned.
The IDF will engage in extensive, precise strikes against terror targets which have been embedded widely throughout Lebanon.
IDF Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari. The strikes took place as the United Nations General Assembly plans to meet in New York this week. More from ABC's Jay O'Brien.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel is expected to address the UN on Thursday, as well as Palestinian Authority leader Mahmoud Abbas. Meantime, outside, hundreds of demonstrators are expected. The NYPD chief saying that the war in Gaza has changed the dynamic of those protests.
President Biden's expected to give his farewell speech to UN members tomorrow. A court appearance today for the suspect in the second attempted assassination attempt on former President Trump. It's to determine whether Ryan Routh should stay behind bars while he awaits trial and as the investigation into the attempt continues. ABC's Stephen Portnoy with more on some of the latest evidence in the case.
It's the strongest evidence yet of a motive. A handwritten note said by the FBI to have been left in a box at a witness's house several months ago. Dear world, it reads, this was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I am so sorry I failed you.
Routh has been charged with 2 gun-related offenses. He has yet to answer a plea. The House is expected to vote soon on a bill which would extend government funding and avert a government shutdown. A search continues for the suspect or suspects accused of opening fire over the weekend on a crowd of people outside a nightclub in Birmingham, Alabama, killing 4 people and wounding more than a dozen. Just before the hour, the Dow is up 4 points. You're listening to ABC News.
Not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Meet Brian. He just got $5,000, and it was pretty easy. I'll tell you how in 10 seconds. Brian needed cash help. After being rejected by banks, he tried 27cash.com. Told them how much he needed, even let them know he had bad credit. In minutes, 27cash.com found a lender who deposited $5,000 into his bank account the very next day. If you need cash help, even if you have bad credit, go to 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We need cash help.
We should go to 57cash.com.
With our bad credit?
57cash.com helps all credit types. They partner with over 100 lenders to help even people with bad credit get approved for up to $10,000. And cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
Wow.
When you need cash help, go to 57cash.com. 57cash.com.
A family tragedy in Texas following the collapse of a mobile home.
Sheriff's deputies in the town of Angleton, Texas, say family members were under a mobile home using jacks to try to level the structure. It collapsed, killing a 17-year-old boy and a 31-year-old man instantly, and trapping 5 of their relatives beneath it. Firefighters had to cut through the floor above to reach those victims. 4 of the 5 injured family members were in critical condition last night. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
The Pope has canceled meetings today due to what's described as a slight illness.
On the heels of an arduous 11-day Asian trip, Pope Francis has come down with what the Vatican calls slight flu-like symptoms. And as a precaution, he'll be taking it easy for the next couple of days. Part of the reason behind that, he's on the road again on Thursday to Luxembourg and Belgium on a 4-day trip. The 87-year-old knows when he has to slow down. Through much of last winter, he battled bronchitis and bouts of influenza. Tom Rivers, ABC News at the Foreign Desk.
A looming strike that could shut down ports on the East Coast is prompting lawmakers to urge the White House to intervene. Dock workers could walk off the job as early as October 1st without a contract. House Republicans pushing the Biden administration to help the negotiations to avoid a supply chain crisis. The White House says it won't force the workers back to work if there's a strike. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
Tri-State Roofing is celebrating the grand pre-opening in Sequim. Tri-State specializes in more than just roofs, siding, gutters, patio covers, and doors. And the best part is, we got you covered with incredible financing. Project now and pay later, much later. 0 down payment, 0 payments, and 0 interest for up to 18 months on approved credit. Experience the Tri-State way. We've got you covered 24/7. Call 253-ROOFING.
Tri-State Roofing, we got you covered.
Here's your Newsradio KONP forecast, brought to you by Olympic Game Farm. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times today, with daytime highs approaching 66. Winds out of the north around 5 miles per hour. Lows level off around 55 tonight. Cloudy skies expected. Daytime highs approaching 69 tomorrow. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Temperatures a bit below average Wednesday and Thursday with highs in the upper 50s. Scattered showers possible both days. Take a look at the extended forecast. 58 Friday, 58 Saturday, and 59 on Sunday. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Right now, 61.
This weekend, unplug. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Broadcasting live from the Abraham Lincoln Radio Studio at the George Washington Broadcast Center. Jack Armstrong and Joe Getty.
Armstrong and Getty. And now, here's Armstrong and Getty.
So, somebody ought to know that. So it's been 100 degrees here all weekend long, roughly. And we just walked into the studio. 64 degrees in here. So it was air conditioned to the point of 64 degrees, empty the entire weekend while it's 100 degrees outside.
Shh. Don't turn it off completely.
Shouldn't that money be used for something else? Something better? Oh, my God.
It's like the guy who likes to get out of a hot tub and plunge into a cold pool, then get back in the hot tub, then back in the cold pool. Really invigorates a fellow.
So cold in here. Live from Studio C.
C, senor.
So it's a dimly lit room deep within the bowels of the Armstrong and Getty Communications compound, surrounded by razor wire and Doberman pinchers. And today we're under the tutelage of our general manager.
Who are we introducing? Who's next? Joseph R. Biden is our general manager. We are preparing the audio I just imitated 4 more months to get through with a completely senile, addled president.
It doesn't involve our institutions.
That's right. The election is only 6 weeks away, but the new president doesn't take over till January 20th. So that is a problem. There are some new polls out. So the polls all weekend, all the talk shows talked about these polls with Harris pulling ahead, and it looked like she was. Now there's a new poll out today from New York Times Siena with Trump having leads in battleground states. So there's no point in paying any attention to them other than
it's very close.
It's the closest election ever, which is like the last thing we needed, really pretty much the last thing we needed in this country was a election so close that no matter who wins, the other side can claim it was stolen. And maybe legitimately so when it's this close, because there's always some shenanigans in an election. And if it's going to come down to thousands of votes in a couple of states.
With the world at a boil in the next 5 weeks, it's entirely possible some event eclipses everything that's gone by previously, and suddenly people are looking at it from a different angle.
Definitely could be true, like the financial collapse in 2008, how that changed the election from about the war in Iraq to the financial collapse. Here's your biggest number of the day, and then you really won't pay any attention to any polls, and I won't talk about it.
A zillion billion. That's the biggest number of the day.
15 is the number of the day. According to the New York Times Siena poll, which is basically considered the best poll out there right now because they spend so much money trying to get it right, in the swing states, it's a growing number for some reason. Who knows why? In the swing states, 15% are undecided. So it's a tied race, but you've got 15% undecided averaged across the swing states? Well, then, who knows? Somebody could be winning by 15. Who knows?
Yeah, that's shocking.
I know it is. That is shocking. I went back and listened to it and said, that can't be right. But that's what they said.
Here's my take on why it's expanding, and this is based on my own extensive polling and my thinking about it for the past 10 seconds. A number of people who are they lean not toward Trump. They've just had enough of the whole Trump thing. When old Kamala replaced President Half-a-Cadaver, they got all excited about it and thought, yeah, you know what? She's younger. Let's get to. But then they saw as has happened every time she's run for national office, they saw the reality of her and drifted back toward, oh God, no, I can't. I don't think I want to vote for that. So they're back to being undecided. At first blush, she looks okay as a candidate. You dig at all deeper and you think, good God, the woman has no thoughts.
Well, that's one poll. The numbers they were touting in on NBC and ABC yesterday on their shows was Kamala Harris has had the biggest swing in approval rating in modern presidential history. Well, since polling began, of about 20 points. She went from the least popular vice president of all time to now she's like at 50% approval rating, and they didn't get into explaining why. It seems like you should try to explain why anybody would have a turnaround like that in approval rating. And I would say it's got something to do with you, lady, on Meet the Press or Face the Nation. And
yes.
And your nonstop positive coverage and lack of willingness to have any interest whatsoever. I mean, why would anybody who was new to this and didn't really follow politics have a negative view of her? You haven't said anything negative ever.
It's a soap bubble, though. Her newfound popularity. It is absolutely a soap bubble. It's the same person who has turned no one on, politically speaking, for a very long time. It's just, I think you're right. Nonstop positive coverage, 95% negative coverage of Trump. And you get a little soap bubble that's so easily, deflated, popped.
So according by
the reality of her utter lack of talent.
According to U.S. government officials, a war between a wide-scale war, a full war between Israel and Hamas and Hezbollah is inevitable at this point. Inevitable.
Yes.
So that's something. We can talk about that later. We should start the show officially, and then I'll explain how I am playing hurt today. I'm Jack Armstrong. He's Joe Getty. On this, it is Monday, September 23rd, the year 24. Life will not be a bore in 24. We're Armstrong and Getty, and we approve of this program.
Let's begin then officially. According to FCC rules and regulations, the show comes at Mark.
So I want to thank you all for being here. And now, who am I introducing next? Who's next?
Distinguished guests, the Prime Minister of the Republic of India.
Ceremony at the Rose Garden. He forgets who's next. Modi's standing right behind him, walks up, shakes his hand. The announcer takes over. Ladies and gentlemen.
And I like the way he yells like it's someone else's fault.
Who's next?
The whole point of this get together is you're going to introduce the leader of the biggest country in the world. So,
yes.
You think you could keep that in your head? What am I doing today? You're introducing the Prime Minister. Is it President or Prime Minister?
Prime Minister.
You're introducing the Prime Minister of India today. Okay, you would remember what your event was. You would think.
Well, yeah, it was an AUKUS thing, so there were multiple countries there, but it was right there. I mean, there was a tiny little stage, and Modi is right behind him to his right, and just the whole, who am I supposed to introduce next? Who's next?
Here's my biggest problem today, and it's a problem. I'm feeling very, very poorly. So,